Stalin is by far one of the most controversial leaders in history. In schools and the media, we are told that he is this evil paranoid dictator who has killed more people than Hitler. However, if you take a second to think about it, and don't just take it at face value, this whole idea seems a bit ridiculous, doesn't it? He is made out as this poorly written cartoon villain, twirling his moustache, and is evil just for the sake of being evil because he is insane. In reality, these sorts of people tend to be very rare, and so this should automatically ring alarm bells that what we are being told might not be too accurate. In this video series, we will delve deep into the facts and look at the sources to see how much truth there really is to the claims against him. So grab some tea, sit back and relax as we will look into the details of who Stalin really was. Stalin's hatred for the Tsar's regime began in 1892 when his school teacher took him and his classmates to witness a public hanging of several peasant bandits. This event traumatized the young Stalin, and it is where his detestation for the Tsar and the establishment began. Despite Stalin's good grades at the seminary, he started getting into trouble with the rectors due to him starting to question the religious doctrine of the seminary. He declared himself an atheist and joined a forbidden book club, where he read many pro-revolutionary and anti-establishment literature, including the works of Karl Marx. Stalin got more and more devoted to the works of Marx and began attending secret workers' meetings at night, and in 1898 he joined the Social Democratic Labour Party. He was eventually expelled from the cemetery because of his radical views. Through his time under the Russian Empire, Stalin proved to be one of the most loyal, if not the most loyal student and follower of Lenin, having sided with Lenin and the Bolsheviks from the start of the split. He was one of, if not the most dedicated members of the movement. He was constantly living in hiding as the Tsar's secret police became aware he was organising workers' movements and strikes, living off donations from friends and sympathisers. He was constantly on the run from the secret police, being exiled to Siberia on several occasions. Between 1902 and 1913, he was exiled to Siberia 6 times. He often tried to escape his exile, facing insane conditions, one time even getting frostbite. In one of his escapes, he was fleeing from Novaya Uda and fled all the way back to Tiflis in Georgia. To give you some perspective, that is roughly a 6,000 kilometer journey he took. Stalin was traveling 6,000 kilometers while hiding, facing freezing Russian temperature, probably facing against wolves and other wildlife attacking him, and he managed to make that journey alive. Under the Tsar, Stalin was also carrying out robberies to fund the Social Democratic Labour Party, often being involved with armed conflicts with the Tsar's police, as well as many other on-the-ground activities. Stalin wasn't just like many of the other Mensheviks, who were just sitting around waiting in Western Europe, drinking their coffees in cafes, reading books and discussing how good the world could be, waiting for a liberal democratic revolution. No, Stalin actually came from a working class background and possessed a real working class mentality. He was actually out there fighting for communism, while all these Mensheviks were sitting around in London, drinking their coffees and eating their chocolate. Stalin was out there fighting in the freezing snow. Stalin's devotion to the cause got him in favour with Lenin, and he was promoted to quite high roles in government after the revolution due to his contributions and loyalty. At the 11th Party Congress in 1922, Lenin nominated Stalin as the party's new general secretary. Trotskyists like to claim that Lenin disapproved of Stalin in his time approaching his death and use the evidence of Lenin's testament, where Lenin says that Stalin should be removed from power. However, the actual existence of this testament has come under scrutiny by mainstream historians, as there is a lot of loopholes with the existence of this letter, such as the fact that the date it was handed in does not correspond to when it should have been written. The fact that at this moment Lenin was in really poor health and was having trouble speaking and writing, and the fact that there is actually no documents. If you go to the archives in Moscow and ask for the testament, you'll get a typescript. There is no original stenographic account like there is for all other of Lenin's dictations. There is also the fact that the content, allegedly in it, kept changing. There is also the fact that the contents are mostly an attack on Stalin's character, and Lenin was quite well known for the fact that when he was criticizing people, he always focused on their ability as a political leader, rather than if they were rude or not. Given all these factors, It is very possible that this could have been made up by Stalin's political opponents, who were trying to slander Stalin so that they could come to power. Stalin, however, did not deny the contents of the letter. He instead apologized and offered to resign as General Secretary, but his resignation was denied by Congress, who wanted to keep Stalin as the leader. The actual date to when we can say Stalin was head of the country is not really possible to decide. This is because, contrary to common knowledge, Stalin was never the sole dictator of the country. This was acknowledged by even the CIA. The Soviet government followed its own constitution. Describing how the Soviet government worked is a huge topic of its own and will be best done as a whole different video, but as a simplification, the Soviet government's basis for where different positions came from originate from the Supreme Soviet, a body that is selected based off elections, so it was not just Stalin making all the decisions by himself as many people believe. However, if we were to try and pinpoint an exact date for when Stalin can be considered to have consolidated power, the most acknowledged date is 1927. By this point, Stalin had outmaneuvered his opponents who were trying to take leadership. His policies were being accepted, he was recognized as the rightful leader of the party, and the majority backs him. Trotsky's left opposition had been ideologically defeated, and his opponents were removed from the Central Committee for breaking democratic centralism.